Hello? 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 Okay, so I think you can now hear me.
We can hear you now.
Okay. So that's one confirmation. Okay. So we can proceed. Yes, I'm Idi Ogono, an AEC technical specialist here at Hi-CAD Africa Limited. And this is the topic that we are going to look at today. In case you have any questions, you can use the Q&A section or the chat box. So in this session, we'll be exploring these particular aspects for Infraworks 360. And of course, we will start with the introduction to Infraworks 360. And we'll go ahead and look at the various features of this particular application, from creating your model in context, to adding your data, to adjusting your styles, and creating impressive presentations. And of course, we'll look at sharing your work with your teammates. So what is Infraworks 360? Infraworks 360 is a planning and design platform that enables engineers and, of course, AEC professionals in the architectural, engineering, and construction industry to quickly and easily convey preliminary design intent in a real-world contextual environment. And this actually increases stakeholder buy-in and team decision-making. So Infraworks comes with several benefits. And when you look at the benefits to your organization, notice that it actually enables stakeholders to envision the full potential of a project. And you are actually able to create more competitive proposals, and this should enable you to win more work. And you're able to make informed decisions given that you have access to much information. And you're able to save time and money given that you are integrating data from different sources to this one platform. And of course, the benefits of Infraworks to users, notice that it helps you to quickly and easily convey your preliminary design intent, and this is in a real-world contextual environment. And you're able to communicate and collaborate internally and externally throughout the whole project lifecycle, from the planning stage to the design stage to the implementation to the operation and maintenance. So you have access and the ability to integrate data from multiple sources, and this enables you to come up with an information-rich model. So you find that one of the challenges that most of you have had for the roads and highways and bridges engineers is that in the initial stages of design, in the conceptual design stage, you have to come up with various proposals, and notice that the client may change his requirements from time to time. And if you're using a tool which carries out detailed design, you'll have to go ahead and carry out detailed design for you to come up with the final model. And in case something changes, you have to go back to that particular tool, let's say Simple 3D, and you have to redo the work. So what Infraworks gives you is carry out your conceptual design, evaluate your options, and select the best design that suits your particular problem. So we'll go ahead and look at Infraworks and notice that it's just a click and you are able to create your model using the model builder. So what you do is just open them up and you're able to search for a particular area of interest, and you should be able to define the boundary of that particular area of interest. So once you have that particular interest, you should be able to obtain your model, and this model now contains terrain data, and also it may have features like the buildings, as we can see in this particular video presentation. So from here, you should be able now to build your data. You should be able to now create your proposals. You should be able to add in even more data and get your model to have more and more information. So you're able to actually start your project in a matter of minutes. So notice that you are actually able to integrate different types of data, and this includes 3D models, IFC models, you have DWGs, you have Revit files, you have point clouds. You should be able to also include land XML files for terrain, your SketchUp models, your raster images. And this is just to enable you to come up with more informed design for your particular concept. So this actually saves your time and money. And this is through obtaining this data and aggregating it into this one platform. So this is also applicable with ArcGIS data, and with the introduction of the ArcGIS connector, you should be able to obtain ArcGIS data and integrate it into your model. Let's say your roads, data for your buildings, and this should increase the amount of information that your model is actually conveying. So you are able to quickly create roads. You're able to create all this infrastructure, bridges. You're able to add trees, vegetation to make your model more lively. You're able to add people and light poles. So from this image, you can see this is actually a snapshot of a complete model, and you can visualize this particular area and the development that have been added to this particular area. And you're able to create different proposals. You're able to adjust your styles. In this case, you can see this particular roads having different styles. Like we can see on the far right side, that particular road actually has a median. For the middle one, you can see it has light poles, and you're able to evaluate these proposals and relay this information to your client, your seniors for reviewing, and this should actually help you decide on which suits that particular need or requirements of your client. So you should be able to prepare presentations with accurate effects, let's say for the scan for the sun and sky. You should be able to prepare reports. You should be able to have snapshots and storyboards for that particular feature that you have actually added to your model. So you have options of adjusting the wind direction, the wind speeds, and this is just to make your model quite lively, and it should improve on your presentation. So in this case, this is just a repetition of the initial step when you're in Infraworks 360, which is building your model. So notice that right here, you're able to search for a particular area of interest. You should be able to define a boundary and go to that particular location where you want to create your land development, you want to add a road, you want to add a bridge to a component road. So you should be able to do that in a matter of minutes. So you should be able to get the existing infrastructure, the existing roads, the existing bridges, and when you select, let's say, a particular road, you should actually see the name of that particular road. And this is enabled through the use of Bing Maps. So this enables context model development, and you're actually able to create your models or your project at that particular location, and you're actually able to see how it relates with the other features and the existing environment. And in this case, we can have a look at the roadway design feature. I noticed that if we roll back a bit, notice that this is a concept in PDF format, and with the aid of a T file, you should be able to underlay this particular T file to your model, and you should be able to begin your process of creating your road. You should be able to lay it out. And notice that this T file, you actually use control points to locate it and fit it in your model in particular areas. So you're able to adjust your cross section. You should be able to get the cross section that you need according to your particulars. Let's say the number of lanes, in case it needs a median, the grading slope, the cut and fill slopes for the grading. If you want to use a fixed width for the grading, you should be able to do that in a matter of minutes. You should be able to adjust also your intersections to fit your need. In this case, you can see from you're able to adjust that to a roundabout, and should be able to pick a specific type of a roundabout according to your design standards. So you can actually specify your design standards, or you can use the default, which are AASHTO and DBM. So you can actually, you have an option of placing in your standard, and it should be used as a basis of your design work. So you also have an option of profile optimization, as you can see, and this just helps you to balance out your cut and fills, and this should impact the project cost, and it should actually, you can see you are able to have reports for the haulage distance and the estimated cost of this particular road. So notice that at every cross section, you are able to if we just go back a bit, yes, you're able to get the cut and fill volumes for each and every cross section let's say at a specific offset, let's say 50 meters. Yeah. You should also be able to get the road cross section just quickly, and you should be able to see how it interacts with the existing surface and how your cut and fills look like. You should be able also to compute the quantities of your cut and fills, and this should form the basis now of your detailed design. So you can notice here that you are actually able to carry out a traffic simulation, and you should be able to see points of delays in this at particular intersections. You should be able to see the points where the delay may be critical for traffic movement. And from there, you should be able to now to push your model or move your model to Civil 3D for much more detailed design of your roadway. So you are able to export your center lines as alignments. You are able to export even your assembly, or you can choose to now go ahead and adjust the assembly in Autodesk Civil 3D. So notice that these two duo are actually interoperable, and you notice that they need each other. So when you're working with these two, you should be able to save more time than when you're working with the common Civil 3D. So if we move to drainage design, it's also just via a right-click menu. You should be able to carry out your watershed analysis, and this will generate the lowest point, and you should be able to, with the lowest point, you should be able to create your culvert at that particular point, the discharge point. And you should be able to adjust this particular culvert. Let's say you want to change its type from pipe culvert to box culvert, you should be able to adjust that. You are able to switch between conceptual and engineering views to see the underground features and also display your underground utilities. So you're able to generate reports for this particular culvert. You're able to size it, adjust the dimensions. You're able to, with the watershed analysis, we're able to carry out discharge. You're able to obtain the discharge using various methods, let's say the common one, the rational method or the regression method. And you're able to move this particular design to you're actually able to move this particular design to Civil 3D for further design and detailing. In this case, you can see you have the quantities, and in this case now it's in Civil 3D, and you're able to now adjust those particular features. And that's now for detailing purposes in Civil 3D. So if we go ahead and have a look at what Infraworks can do for you in terms of bridge design for bridge engineers, notice that you're actually working with around 3 AEC tools. So you're able to quickly evaluate multiple design options. Notice that you're able to add a bridge by just right-clicking that particular component rod. You should be able to change the cross-section of that section where the bridge lies, of that particular road. So you can have different cross-sections at different chain edges. So notice that you can adjust your orientation of your piers you should be able to adjust the sizes, and you can actually use Inventor to create your custom component, let's say the pyre. And once you're satisfied with that particular component, you're able to now import it into Infraworks, and you can apply that to all your pyres. And notice that now you have that particular component updated. You are able to also carry out land guard analysis for your girders. You are able to adjust the type of girders, whether they should be steel or concrete or precast. And you are able to generate a report regarding the girder analysis. And you should be able to now push for further design. You should be able to push that particular bridge to Revit. And mostly in Revit, you're actually carrying out your detailing, you're actually adjusting your dimensions, and also in conjunction with the structural bridge design, you should be able to carry out now your detailed analysis. You should be able to carry out your structural analysis of that particular bridge. So notice that these links are actually bidirectional. You can move from this particular model, this particular bridge from Infraworks to Revit, and back from Revit to Infraworks 360. Same for the road design. You should be able to move your your preliminary design of that particular road to Civil 3D for further detailing. And once you are done with the detailing bit of it, or your detailed design, you should be able now to also move that particular model to Infraworks for conceptualization, for actually visualizing your final design and communicating that particular design to your clients. So you're able to validate your design in real time, and you're able to create multiple design options. So you should be able to measure your distances in case you want to know particular distance or a particular height of a given location or area. As we have seen, you're able to calculate your cut and fill quantities. You are able to carry out your visibility status, and you should be able to actually create your thematic maps. So as it can be seen, you are able to carry out various types of analysis, from terrain analysis, let's say your slopes, your elevations. You should be able to carry out your site analysis. Notice here that we have the quantities for your bridge, your artwork quantities, and notice that you're able to carry out your profile optimization and get the profile optimization report. And now this gives you the cost of that particular road, the total project cost, and also the cost per linear meter, as you can see. And this should just enable you actually to come up with estimates of this particular road. Given that you are the engineer, of course, you have to come up with the estimated cost of this particular road. This is in cases of whereby you are contracting that particular work and there are tenders involved. So you are able to get these particular costs. And this information is reliable, given that you can see all the inputs that have actually been based on to come up with this particular cost. You should be able to get your cuts and fill volumes. And this is in regards with the profile optimization. And that's just how much information you can actually get with this particular tool. So we have looked briefly at the road designs, the bridge designs, the reports that you should be able to get, the presentation that you should be able to generate for your clients. And you are actually able to share now your model with your teammates. And this is enabled through Infraworks 360. Now, with Infraworks 360, you should be able to now publish your model to BIM 360. And on that particular platform, anyone who has access to that project, whom you have granted access, let's say you're the project admin, should be able to get information regarding that particular model. And they should be able to edit or add data or information to that particular model, and this should automatically save. So when someone else is working on a particular model, he'll be working with the latest version of this particular model. Notice that you are actually able to share this via the web, and you can access it on any platform. Let's say on a tablet, you should be able to click on those particular areas of interest that are highlighted on a model, and you should visualize everything about this particular project. This is enabled through, as I said, Infraworks 360, which is just a web viewer. And anyone who has access to internet and to the web should be able to access your models. So when you're in the field, let's say you're now working on and you want to now visualize this design. Notice that you can also access this particular feature via your mobile phone. And you should also just be able to do the same. Click your particular area of interest, the highlighted point of interest, and you should be able to clearly see the extent of that particular project area. So with this, you are actually able to keep your teammates and stakeholders informed, and they are involved from the initial stage, from the conceptual stage to the design stage and up to the maintenance. So as we had seen earlier, this just shows you how you are able to move from Infraworks to Civil 3D. Notice that at the top right corner, you have the Civil 3D window, and via the insert menu, you should be able to open an Infraworks model. You are able to adjust the information that you want imported. You are able to set the coordinates to match the coordinates of that particular Infraworks model. And with this, it should get you started with working on that particular conceptual design, that particular preliminary design, and generating a detailed design of that particular project. Then notice here that you can then visualize your final design in Infraworks 360. So with Infraworks 360, you should be able to generate now what you'll be presenting, the snapshots, the storyboards, and you can now attach your Civil 3D drawings actually into Infraworks 360. So with all that, notice that you should be able to communicate much better your design intent and go through various design options and pick on the design options that the client is actually comfortable with. So just in summary, we have looked at getting started with the model builder. And you also have an option of creating a model from scratch, whereby you specify your extents of the model, the latitude and longitudes, and you should be able to add data, the terrain data. You should be able to add the land features data. You should be able to add buildings, roads, definitely through different sources, ArcGIS. And the next thing also we have looked at, you should be able to, we have looked at designing and designing of features, your major features, that's roads, buildings, and bridges. You are able to adjust the styles of you're able to adjust the styles of your features, your roads, your buildings, and bridges. And this is just to control the appearance so that they can be visually appealing. So you're able to present your work. Notice here by creating still shots and fly-through animations, you're able to now inform yourself and others with the various types of analysis. You're able to share your work and collaborate with anyone. And you should be able to now continue your job into Civil 3D without losing any information that you integrated in your model. So Infraworks comes at the planning and concept design stage. So you can see at that particular stage, you have aggregating data so that your project is in that particular context. We have developing parametric roadways, bridge, drainage designs. You should be able to evaluate your design options and carry out analysis to optimize your designs. And the most important thing is actually communicating your designs with videos and renderings. And this should enable you win much more work. So this is just a clip just to show you the aspect of connecting with ArcGIS. So it's the same steps, the same procedure. You start by creating your model builder, and you locate your particular area of interest. Notice that now this is just a feature of importing your land terrain data, and this now utilizes Autodesk Recap, and you can also import your point cloud data for the existing conditions. You should be able to switch within views. You should be able to visualize your contours. And notice that with the new feature of Autodesk Connector for the ArcGIS, which was introduced in 2017, you should be able now to add much more data. You can see here from coverage areas, pipelines. You should be able to add all this data to that particular area of interest, including thematic maps. And all this data comes with attributes which you can adjust. And the latest feature in Autodesk Infraworks 2021, you are actually able to save back to ArcGIS. So let's say you're working on a particular project, you have adjusted, let's say, some particular utilities. Now you are able to save back that particular information into ArcGIS, and anyone who will be looking for that particular information should work with the current data about that particular feature. So notice that you are actually able to locate accurately your various features, and this is enabled through the ArcGIS connector. So with that, you should be able to come up with information-rich models. And in this case, we can see a land development project with all the features included in it. And I think it looks more lively, the trees with the cars and the people. So that's just how much you can do with Infraworks 360. And when you're working with the other softwares, when you're utilizing the interoperability aspect, you should be able to come up with a much more detailed design, and you should be able to communicate much better your design intent. So for today, we'll just looked at Infraworks 360. That's from this slide, you can see that's in the planning and concept design. So probably the next session, we will now look at BIM for roads and highways, and of course for bridges too. And now this will encompass all these sections, from the data, from the survey to the planning, to the detailed design, now to virtual design. And this will incorporate workflows between different applications, as we have seen. We've just seen a few: Inventor, Civil 3D, Autodesk Infraworks, Revit, but now it will encompass much more, from including recap and like for the last section, and let's say Navisworks is for your 4D and 5D simulation of your construction. So that's what we will be able to look at in our next session. So today I decided to be quite brief. In case you have any question regarding what we have looked at. Any questions regarding this particular application? Okay, so what I'm sure of is most of us haven't interacted with this particular tool, and it's not that complicated in terms of learning it. Anyone can learn it and anyone can use it. But of course, it also applies your engineering background. It actually relies on engineering background. Let's say when concreting component roads, you actually specify your limits. Let's say for the curve radiuses, we notice that it actually bases its design on a particular code which you are able to adjust. And you should be able to also to include your country kits, and you should be able to utilize features that are specific to your country. So we have one question. How accurate is the data collected by this tool? Does it even remotely use satellites to collect this data? Google Earth maybe? So Infraworks doesn't use Google Earth. It utilizes Bing Maps. And at times, you might find that this data, the data available for, let's say, a particular location, maybe it was uploaded, let's say, a year ago, and some developments have occurred. So this is where now your data aggregation comes in. This is where now you bring in ArcGIS data to give you now the real information, real-time information, and the real-time data to include in your particular model. So you might find that maybe, as I've said, there are developments since the time the data was aggregated. But at times you may find that your model, that particular area you have selected, the data was uploaded recently, and it contains more reliable information. So this is where now the integration with different data sources comes in, and this should enable you come up with the more and more reliable data. I'm not sure if I've answered you. I hope I have. Okay. Any other question? And of course, something else, you have the data collector feature for GIS, and you should be able to accurately locate your features. There was a clip that we saw earlier. Which includes locating particular data using GPS. GPS, yeah. So I think it's about here. So you should be able to now use this particular feature to correctly locate your particular items in your model. Okay. Any other question that we can think of? Okay, so this tool is applicable even in the remote tests of areas where one is doing a road design. Yes, of course. This tool, you should be able to locate any particular location, and with the terrain data, it doesn't matter where that particular area is. You should be able to carry out an informed conceptual design of your particular feature. So with the information that it comes with, the terrain data, and with the data which you can probably add, you should be able to access you should be able to access the various what will I say? Let's say the elevations, the slopes of even the remote test areas that you are thinking of carrying out your particular development. So you actually have access to all the characteristics of that particular area. And of course, the more data you feed in, the more informed your design is likely to be. So in case you may be needing, you may need training in regards to it, in regards to this. You can reach us to info@hicad.co.ke, or you should be able to reach me ed@hicad.co.ke in case you have any concerns regarding this this particular application. Okay, so that's it for today. And so in the next session, we should be looking at BIM for infrastructure. Now, building information and modeling, and its applicability now to infrastructure. Of course, most of the times, people have talked about BIM for the vertical structures, the buildings and all that. But now we should be able to now look at BIM for the horizontal structures, now for the civil infrastructure. So thank you for attending this session, and we will welcome you to our offices at Power Controls Limited, opposite Team Sales at Industrial Area, Enterprise Road. That's for in case you need a one-to-one session of training, or we can also have a schedule a session online training for this particular application. So you are welcomed, and thank you for attending this session. So there are no further concerns, and I think I'll just end the meeting. Bye-bye, and stay safe.